by the Commanders would lead to this: a conversion and a touchdown. Jeremy McNichols into the end zone. Got a little spicy down the stretch, but 45-31 is your finals as Washington is heading to the NFC Championship game for the first time in 33 years. Joe Musso pleased to be alongside the two-time Super Bowl champ Bryant McFadden, who knows what it is to be in these moments and throw out the seeds. And that's what we did tonight. From start to finish, Washington dictating the way they wanted to play this game. They take the ball off the Lions. They bully the Lions. What stood out to you most about the win?
Well, just the sense of urgency for the Commanders, led by their young quarterback in Jaden Daniels. He continues to amaze all of us with how cool and calm he is in big-time moments and just becoming the ultimate playmaker when plays need to be made. 1 yard short of 300. Dan Quinn, get the rookie the extra yards. But when you look
Nobody's looking at the box score.
I mean, 299 yards, 2 touchdowns. He gave another 52 yards on the
Spectacular.
ground. And the thing I love about Jaden Daniels is that he makes the players around him better. Remember, this was a team that only won 4 games a year ago. This was a team that surrendered the most sacks in the National Football League a year ago. In comes a new coach in Dan Quinn, new staff, made big-time additions when you look at free agencies. But what they did in the draft, selecting the quarterback, was the deciding factor in what you talk about changing the culture there for their organization. This is a team that really didn't have these high, lofty expectations, but expectations change when they started to perform and play the style of football they've been playing. And currently, they're sitting in a position they haven't been in 30-plus years, getting ready to go to Championship Sunday in the NFC.
1991, the last time they were there, the last time they won a Super Bowl, and a belief here in the form of Jaden Daniels, who ties the record for the most wins by a rookie in a single season in NFL history now with 14 and counting. The Commanders will travel to whoever it is on the other side of that NFC bracket, whether it be LA or Philly. That will be your NFC title game host. Mac, back to the moment here, because there's so many different angles to come at this from. You lose your best offensive lineman early in this game, no problem for that offense. What's the group that maybe isn't getting pointed to right now for Washington that deserves the credit? I get it, the quarterback's been fantastic, but this team has grown and come together.
I think, you know, you can always highlight Jaden Daniels deserving so, because he is the catalyst for their success on the offensive end. But tonight, their offensive line, you talked about losing one of the best offensive linemen, but they did a great job in protecting a rookie quarterback in a very, very hostile environment on the road. We've watched the Detroit Lions the entire season, especially there in Motown. We've watched them harass opposing quarterbacks. We watched them make opposing quarterbacks uncomfortable. They had no shot in doing so. And I understand you can say, well, they were dealing with injuries. Detroit, they've been dealing with injuries the entire season. But these injuries did not prevent them from what? Winning their division. It did not prevent them from doing what? Having the top seed in the playoffs. But what happened today, they ran into a quarterback that is playing the best football of his life in the most important moments, and that's Jaden Daniels. We saw a glimpse of what he did last week against Tampa, but tonight his foot was on the gas. He never looked back, and he made play after play.
And to that point, this is that type of win that really makes you believe. If there were anyone out there still saying, they're getting lucky late in these games, the cardiac Commanders, they're finding a way. This was will, not a way. This was a team imposing their will on the one that was supposed to have it. Now, defensively, as you said, injuries throughout this season, but offensively, we've come to expect a certain level of play out of Detroit, and we did not get that from the quarterback or anybody else in that offense not named Jahmyr Gibbs on this day. Where did they lack?
Turnovers. I talked about what the rookie quarterback needed to do to win this ball game. But I forgot to mention that to the veteran quarterback as well, because that's the thing I love about playoff football. That's the thing I love about playoff football. It's a new season. Once the playoff starts, you kind of need to forget about what you witnessed in regular season play, but still keep it in your forefront. But it's a brand new year. And with that being said, it's one and done. It's not a 7-game series. You don't have multiple opportunities to correct your wrong if you don't get it right the first time. It's one and done. So what we saw today, a team that had the bye started off flat, right? You talk about not protecting the football, not protecting Wilson. Anytime you have 5 turnovers in a ball game, you're probably going to lose. Anytime the opposing team have a defensive touchdown, that team probably will win. We saw 5 turnovers, and I can tell you this, the telling sign in this ball game, Detroit driving. They're up 7-3. in the red area, Joe, an opportunity to go up 14 points, bare minimum, 10-3. You can go 14-3, 10-3. That fumble jump-started the efforts for Jayden Daniels. And I can tell you this much as well. Aaron Glenn has done a great job the entire season. But for the very first time all year long, he had no answer. He had no answer. The execution that we saw from Cliff Kingsbury was a thing of beauty in terms of having his guys prepared. The way they execute was all in the quarterback, the offensive line, the skill guys. Everyone did a great job in going in and doing something no one really thought they had a chance. Outside of you being a Commanders fan, no one really believed the Commanders could win this game outright, straight up.
But Cliff putting his team, like you're saying, in the positions to be successful, to show their athleticism, to be great and play free, how we said an underdog of this size could. And the way they did, the way they go about their business, to go into that building that can be a bandbox, it can get loud and keep their cool through it all. Impressive once again here from the Commanders. I do think it's worth weighing or quantifying, or at least trying to, the disappointment here for Detroit. This was the year.
This was the year.
This was the time to take the step forward from the heartbreak that you had a year ago. We were sort of weighing those two things against each other. The expectation was lower last year, but devastating, that loss. This year, the expectation's higher, but you just sort of get dragged by a team in Washington. I don't know how you compare those things one to the other, but you might lose both coordinators. The quarterback didn't look great in the biggest moment of the season. How big of a disappointment is this? Can you put it into words?
This is a big disappointment. I'll say this. The way they lost a year ago, I think, was more of a disappointment, more of a letdown, a punch in the gut.
Shocking.
Shocking compared to what we saw tonight. And the reason why I say that, viewers, follow me, is that you made it to the NFC Championship game last year. You were one game away. You had a 17-point, if I'm not mistaken, a 17-point lead in the second half. In the second half, you had control of the ball game and you squandered it away. You're one game away. Now, tonight, no question, you were the best team in the NFC the entire season. You were the best team in your division. You had the #1 spot in NFC conference play, and you lost. But the way you lost, you surrendered, allowed 45 points to a rookie quarterback and a first-year head coach in Dan Quinn. These two losses are devastating. And when you look at being a Detroit Lions fan, if you're an adult anywhere between 30, 40, 50 years old, and you've been rooting for the Detroit Lions your entire life, you've seen nothing but losses, to say the least. And now when you look at what Dan Campbell has built there in Detroit, you believe. And this was set up for you to go ahead and get to the promised land, which is New Orleans. And to Joe's point, the expectations were high. And guess what? You lived up to the expectations the entire season, except divisional round playoffs.
It's heartbreaking for any fan that gives their heart to a team for a long time, and you're a loser. That team is a loser, and then you finally find that tide and you ride it to a moment like this, and you come up short, like you said, against a rookie in his first year with the team and a head coach who's getting a retread try. This is not the way it was supposed to happen for Detroit.
It hurts more because, to your point, you actually believe you were good enough to do it. In years past, before Dan Campbell became the head coach there, you had no shot. You didn't believe. You were just hoping. It's a different thing in terms of hoping and believing and knowing. You believe and felt like this was our year. And the last thing you actually thought was you would lose. If you had to lose, probably would be in the NFC Championship game. At least get to that point. No, you were a 9-point favorite coming into this ball game, right? So everything was set up for you to at least win.
Dan Campbell said it last year after they heartbreakingly lost to San Francisco. It's going to be hard to get back here. It's going to be a different group of guys. Well, you can copy and paste that statement once again, because it's going to be a very different group there.
And that's why I tell fans this all the time, just speaking from personal experience. When you get to that level, when you're a game away, you want to seize the day, because you never know if you can get back to that moment. Think about how many players have played in the National Football League that were a game away from going to a Super Bowl or winning a Super Bowl and never get back to that point ever again in their career.
Opportunity, it only knocks so often. And I think macro, looking at this season, the NFC North, we said these playoffs are going to be dominated by the North. Winningest conference in the history of the game. 0 playoff wins.
They beat each other up and get to the playoffs and flatline.
They come up short. In this instance, the Detroit Lions fall victim to the Washington Commanders, and that quarterback, man, that young star, 299. rookie quarterbacks to start a conference championship game. There have been 6. Jayden Daniels, your most recent. One more win, and he will become the first rookie quarterback to start a Super Bowl. More coming on CBS Sports HQ. End of season, always emotional, and especially when Dan Campbell is at that podium.